Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Messner again, and today I'm going to read you The Invisible Boy by Trudy Ludwig. This book, The Invisible Boy, is a story of kindness and compassion, which are two very important qualities that can help you be a really good friend. I hope you enjoy. As I read the book, I'm going to ask a few questions throughout the story to help you think about some important things. The Invisible Boy by Trudy Ludwig, illustrated by Patrice Barton. Can you see Brian, the invisible boy? Even Mrs. Carlotti has trouble noticing him in her classroom. She's too busy dealing with Nathan and Sophie. Nathan has problems with what Mrs. Carlotti calls volume control. He uses his outside voice inside too much. And Sophie whines and complains when she doesn't get her way. Nathan and Sophie take up a lot of space. Brian doesn't. When the bell rings for recess, Micah and JT take turns choosing kids for their kickball teams. The best players get picked first, then the best friends of the best players, then the friends of the best friends. Only Brian is left, still waiting and hoping. I'm wondering, can you remember, how did Micah and JT choose players for their teams? Do you think it is a fair way to select players? See, look, first they chose the people who were really good at the game. Then they chose their best friends, and then they chose their best friends' friends. Is that fair? Have you ever tried to join a group or a game and other friends didn't let you join? How did that make you feel? Have you ever left kids out on purpose? Why did you do that? Important things to think about. JT glances in Brian's direction and, just as quickly, looks away. We've got enough players for each team, he tells the others. Let's play ball. In the cafeteria, Madison and her friends talk about her birthday party. The rope swing over the pool was awesome, says JT. Yeah, so was the water slide, adds Fiona. That was the best pool party ever. I'm so glad you guys had fun, said Madison. Everybody did, except Brian. He wasn't invited. So when Madison and her friends are talking about the birthday party in front of Brian, do you think they're being thoughtless? Or are they being mean on purpose? So are they just not thinking about him because they can't notice him? Or do you think that they're being mean to him on purpose? Do you think there was a better way for Madison to handle the situation? Could they have talked about it when Brian wasn't there? Have you ever felt like Brian, where your friends are talking about doing something that you were left out from, that you didn't get invited to? If yes, how did that make you feel? At choosing time while the other kids play board games and read, Brian sits at his table doing what he loves to do best. He draws fire-breathing dragons scaling tall buildings, space aliens locked in intergalactic battles, greedy pirates digging for treasure, and superheroes with the power to make friends wherever they go. I'm going to put this a little closer so you can see some of Brian's really cool illustrations. On Monday morning, Mrs. Carlotti introduces Justin, a new student to the class. Brian smiles shyly at him. Some of the other kids sneak looks at Justin. They're trying to figure out if he's cool enough to be their friend. They haven't quite made up their minds yet. You see something different about Brian's face than all the other friends. At lunch, Madison and JT watched Justin eat with chopsticks. "What's that?" asked Madison as she points at Justin's food. "It's bulgogi." What?" "Bulgogi. It's Korean barbecue beef. My grandma made it for me. It's really good. Do you want to try some?" "There's no way I'd eat boogery." And the kids laugh, all of them, that is, except for Brian. He sits there wondering, which is worse, being laughed at or feeling invisible? So I wonder, if we looked back at this book, how many different examples there are of Brian's invisibility, all the times that he felt like nobody noticed him or paid attention to him. Which do you think is worse, feeling invisible or having people notice you and laugh at you? I wonder if there's something that Brian can do to help Justin feel better. The next day, when Justin goes to his cubby to put away his backpack, he notices a piece of paper with his name on it. It says, "Justin, I thought the bulgogi looked good. Brian." And look at this cute illustration that Brian drew. I think this is Brian and he's eating the bulgogi. Yum! I wonder how Justin felt after he read that note. At morning recess, Brian finds a piece of chalk on the ground and starts drawing away. "You're Brian, right?" "Yeah, thanks for the note." And look, here's Emilio. "Hey, Justin," Emilio calls out from the tetherball court. "You're up next." "Sorry, I've got to go," says Justin. "By the way, that's a really cool drawing," he adds before taking off. Back in class, Mrs. Carlotti asked the kids to team up in twos or threes for a special project. The kids scurry around the room to pair off. Brian heads towards Justin. "I'm already with Justin," says Emilio. "Find someone else." Brian looks at the floor, wishing he could draw a hole right there to swallow him up. Mrs. Carlotti said, "We can have up to 3 people in our group. We're only 2. Come on, Emilio, let's let him work with us." Okay, I guess. What do we notice about Brian? He's looking not quite as invisible. I can see he was all in black and white, and now it looks like he's filling in with some color. Mrs. Carlotti gives the class directions for the project. Your assignment is to work together to write a story about what you see in the photograph. Use your imagination and have fun. Whoa, cool, says Emilio. What kind of people do you think would live in houses like that? I don't know, but I bet Brian could draw them to go with our story, says Justin. Brian smiles as he takes out his lucky pen. And look at Brian now. He's in full color. I wonder what that means about how he's feeling. At lunchtime again, Brian's least favorite part of the day, another 20 long minutes of kids talking and laughing with everyone else but him. "Brian," he hears someone shout. "Hey, Brian, over here." Brian turns and sees Justin waving him over. Emilio nods at Brian as he makes room for him at the table. "Cookie?" "Thanks." Maybe, just maybe, Brian is not so invisible after all. So, how many kids did it take for Brian to feel less invisible? Think back in the story. How many kids did it take? Not very many. Just one person who's showing kindness and compassion can make a huge difference in how someone can feel. What were the things that Justin did to make Brian feel less invisible? Can you remember? Has anyone ever helped you feel better or helped you feel like they were inviting you to do something, inviting you to be their friend? Can you remember how it felt when someone was so kind and compassionate towards you? Can you think of any kids in your class or your school or your neighborhood who might be being treated like they are invisible, just like Brian? I wonder if you, the power of one, can make a difference in how they feel every day. I hope you enjoyed that book, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. See you again soon.